How did you feel after getting that next contract then? Were you like, was it like a full weight, completely gone, like you're fresh, you're ready to go, everything's behind me?
Yeah, it did. I remember we used to go to Portugal every year with friends as well, and the kids and stuff, and went to Vilamoura, and I always used to train while I was there. And don't get me wrong, like anything, you had a few drinks and enjoyed the sun, the break, but always conscious of pre-seasons coming up, and that one especially where I was doing a little bit more. And I remember Chris Holt, one of my best mates, we were walking back and with a few beers and stuff for the barbecue and walking up, and my phone went, and it was Paul Muskelly, who was the assistant manager at the Welders. So it'd come out in the press when I was on holiday. And he said, "Listen, Doc, I've seen this, and we know it's a long shot, but," and I just said, "Yep, done, signed. See you when I'm back." He was like, No, we haven't offered you anything yet." But in my head, going back to that 2 years at the Welders, where from the minute I walked in and shook Brian Ellie's hand, to the way I was looked after, to the way I played, to what we achieved, and how my career went off the back of that, that was the place that I wanted to go to.
Yeah. Like a safe haven type
yeah,
thing, going back.
Absolutely. And I said, "Listen, I'll see you when I come back. Don't worry about what you can pay, what you can't pay. I'm going to sign for you." And went back and signed for them. And again, just felt like this is the place that brings the most out of me, and I'm happiest. And again, all that was the start of, the Craig Harris, Chopper Harris, and Dan, Scott Davison, Michael McClellan, and all those boys, and Smiler was there, that they carried on right through, and some of them are still there. But
yeah,
a brilliant time. Like, and just for me, it was that family connection that I had, and those boys and that club. It's like there's nowhere better. And I think coming off the back of the Glentoran sort of trauma, if you like, that's where I needed to be.
Just a fresh restart completely.
Yeah, we had, what a group, like unbelievable group. Just the best away days. Like, normally you're looking for Ballinamore, Derby away, and people are going, "Oh my God, here we go." Like, we're looking for Ballinamore and Derby away.
This trip's going to be
wait for this
class on the way back.
Right. And that was the thing, you were going those places, and even Loughgalls, and then it doesn't matter if it was a Tuesday night or Friday night or Saturday. You knew you were going, you were winning the game, and you were having a carrot and a party on the way home, and you were going to the social club. And that group, every single home game, we went back to the Welders Club and spent our wages.
Yeah.
We went back and got honey chili chicken and garlic cubes and loads of beers and stuff, and then you went up. Honestly, it was like you're all sitting there with the food, and
club's buzzing to pay you.
Buzzing. Here we go. Here,
home game. Can't wait to make that money back.
We'll get that back in an hour here. Yeah, like honestly, you were just spending it. You were putting it back in. It wasn't never about money, like it wasn't before. So, and again, the big thing there was going with the Stephen Sons. That the first time in the club's history that it had always hung over them. And
who did you play in that film?
We played. It was weird because it was called off Christmas Day. I'd never been to a Stephen Sons game in my life. I know. I've been to every one since. I played in the first one.
Such a popular game, Christmas Day. It's usually what, 12 o'clock or?
I think it was 11 o'clock or something, like 11:30. But on a full house at Seaview, madness. We'd got Albert Foundry had got into the final, done really well. They were playing really well in the Premier League and stuff. And it was called off. There was snow over Christmas, so they couldn't get the pitch cleared, so it was put back to the Monday. So didn't get the experience that Christmas morning, but we went, we won the game, and then we went back to the club for 2 days.
Class.
Unbelievable. And probably the first time I'd experienced that too, really celebrating a
win,
like a win on a trophy. And like, I went back, actually went home, had my Christmas dinner, and then came back again.
Go fill up on some turkey.
Yep. And went back and then filled up on some beer and wine and whatever else. But that was making that group, and probably should have achieved more. Got beaten in another Stephen Sons final by Carrick when they'd done the treble. Yeah. They beat us in the League Cup or Intermediate Cup, whatever it was. They beat us in that final as well. But to be getting the finals consistently with that club, because they'd won stuff before, was a big thing too for me. It felt like you were at a proper club, even though they didn't have the label or the title of being a big Premier League club with a lovely stadium, the way they are now, and very, very close to being a Premier League club. So, but just a brilliant time. Felt loved, playing really well, had good people around me, brilliant atmosphere, brilliant crack, not about money, and just go and enjoy my football.
That's one thing for kids now, and they're listening to this, they should be saying, don't sign anywhere for money, go because you actually want to be there.
It would be. I done some in the States a couple of years ago. There was a coach that said, "Hands up, who wants to be a millionaire tomorrow?" I was like, put my hands up. All the kids were putting their hands up. Right, hands up, who wants to grind for 8 years and then play 5 games in the Premier League? And of course, some hands went up, some didn't. And he was like, doing that makes you a millionaire.
Yeah.
And you're now a Premier League player, and now you get another million, another million. He was painting this picture of the hard work and the process and the journey. But for me, especially not with that club, it was never ever about money. Like you were getting buttons.
How long did you end up staying at the Welders for then?
So again, back another 2 years, and the only reason I left was where the club were. So we were in that old stadium. Brilliant place for us to play because teams hated coming there. And we beat Ballymena in the Irish Cup and beat Glentoran in the Irish Cup, knocked them out. Some brilliant days. It was horrendous. It was like a links golf course.
It was wild at the back actually. You passed the ball, and it was.
Yeah.
And they only had that wee one stand over on the right hand side, didn't they?
Just a wee stand.
Yeah.
The Brian Lilly stand that they've now taken into the other stadium with them. So it wasn't a great place for other teams to come, but we loved it. I mean, you had an advantage over people. And again, a brilliant senior. Paul Muir came and signed, who played with it at the Stury. Stuart King, who was on the podcast. Also, I have a good one about Stury. Brilliant fella, like top man. But a really Davy Rainey had went. A really good change room. So almost like that change room that I'd been in before with the Welders, only I was starting to now be one of the more senior players.
Yeah.
Because with all those young players coming through, Josh Cahoon and Andy McGrory, they'd all come through like absolute stars, like they went on to be. But so I'll just tell you about Stury. So the professionalism was there, even though we all loved a beer with each other and went and put our money back into it and loved going and enjoying wins. We wanted to win, and the shows, the cup finals we were in and challenging for the league and attracting the likes of Stuart King and Paul Muir and Davy Rainey's wouldn't have been easy if you weren't that type of a group. I made Stuart laugh about this. He called me last week and that was the first thing he said, but it was a game towards the end of the season. We were winning 4-0 or 5-0, and I'm putting Stuart in the front post zone for a corner, the corner the other team had. And I'm saying, worry about there, don't leave it. Anything comes in there, you deal with it, I'll deal with anything in here. So the ball comes into that area just above his head, just out of my reach, and the boy gets in, heads it in. And I've had a rattle at him, and he's had a rattle at me. And knowing Stuart, he's not the quietest.
No.
Right? Nor was I. So going down that sort of cage, the way the back of the change rooms, we're at it the whole way down and yapping at each other, and the needle's there, and it's going on and on and on and on. And then we get into the change room, and so we change room about the size of this room, physio bed in the middle, sandwiches, pot of tea, and all the stuff that had been left for us. And he's going on and on and on, just continuing. And I'm taking my boots off. And I've just taken my boot and launched at him. Right, metal studs, everything, and he's just missed his head. The plasters come off the wall, everything, and then he bounces up. What are you doing? What are you going to do? The next thing, me and him, it was like an ice hockey fight. So hand on, jerseys, just bang each other, right? And it's not hard to give Stuart King a bloody nose.
Definitely not.
Imagine, right?
He was touching you before you even had a punch from probably.
You can smell a Sunday roast on a Wednesday. No, he's but so Stuart bloody nose, and people are trailing us off, we're on our backs. It just felt like it was going on forever. It was obviously a couple of seconds, and just as we were pulled away, he's lifted the tray of sandwiches, a big metal tray, and just walloped me right across the face. Right?
Like it's a wheelchair.
Yep, tuna sandwiches. Right, so we call it tuna gate. Right, and when he phones me, he calls me, well, tuna bake, what's happening? Right, big nose. So one a bit, it was that thing of, we were in the shower, whatever it was, 5-10 minutes later, standing with a bottle of beer each in the shower, just laughing our heads off.
Yeah.
It was a wanting to win, and wanting to win the right way.
Yeah.
That brought it out of us and our nature, competitive nature. But it was ridiculous, like literally punched the head clean off each other. I can't fight, nor can he. So it was probably comical to everyone else. But just one of the memories you have from there. But no, brilliant place to be. And ultimately, when I left there, it was my decision. The club, when we got the Stephen Sons final, won it or lost it, always towards the end of the season, it petered out. And we were in positions to win the league, but we never got over the line. And I think a lot of it was because the club didn't want to go up in the Premier League. and quite rightly so. But we didn't see that as players, and I got a bit pissed off with it. The fact that they weren't showing that ambition. Reality is, I wanted to get back in the Premier League, and we wanted to be earning better money and everything else that came with it. And there was a couple of clubs that had been in contact, and I would have been happy to stay there for the rest of my career. It was an unbelievable place if you wanted to do things the right way. And Ards came in for me, and I went to Ards, and Al Curry was the manager there, and I had a year at Ards where we won the championship.
Yep.
And got promoted, and very early into the first Premiership season, I wanted to go back to Welders. I realised again, what was I doing?
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, we went there, and there was things that were going on personally and everything else that came with it, but it was like, again, that place of wanting to be there and wanting to be loved and being safe and being everything else. So Gary Smith had then taken over and brought me back and get back in, and we went on then, obviously won the Stephensons for a second time. And again, another party. And
But say back in for 2 day band.
Yep, another party. We were getting a wee bit more this time, so all your wages weren't go back into the club. But again, a lot of the same players were still there and carried through. Friends still to this day, and friends for life. Like, we used to do things like go out for a Halloween team fancy dress, but before Halloween.
Right.
So we'd done it like the day before. So nobody's in fancy dress in the town, but
Users
all of us are.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Like, I'm a full Stormtrooper outfit with a Nerf.
Still the best Stormtrooper outfit I've ever seen.
Yeah. Big
Just
Dan
a
with
lot of people.
Beetlejuice, and I remember Dan being in the queue for 21 Social. We were all queuing up. And we're thinking, are we getting in here? It's fancy dress. You had the Lego blockheads, and you had Chucky and whoever else, and Dan had the big coat on. He says to me, "Here, do you want this pigeon?" And he's holding a pigeon. What? Where'd you get that? He says, "It's just walking about the street there." He just picked a pigeon up and put it in this thing. So when we get in, so every time you're in, the music's on, right? He just went there, let it off in the club, right? But that was just the way it was, that group. Like, it was just silly things that just harmless things that nobody done anything bad on each other. It was just a really, really good group, and a group that just wanted to be together and win games. And I seen myself finishing there.
Yeah.
I was getting close to 300 games for them. It was a case of, right, let's just stay here for the rest of my career. And where he ended up, full circle, was, and how it happened was, again, just probably one of the stranger moments. But I'd signed a new contract at the Welders, or agreed one. Went away back in Portugal at Vilamoura, and bumped into Stevie Baxter in the marina, and he was with Lydia, and the kids were there, and obviously we're just chatting at the marina, and he says, "What are you doing tonight? You just want to meet up for dinner?" I says, "Right, okay, yeah, we'll meet here." He says, "Meet here 7 o'clock, whatever it was." So we just went on with our day and got charred and changed down to the marina. Stevie was there, family was there, and he says, "We're going to a wee restaurant up here, booked us a table." And we were walking up, and everyone's walking along, and he just kind of pulled me back, so everyone else was walking ahead, and he put his arm around me, and he says, "You're going to come and play for me." And I was like, "What?" He says, "You're going to come and play for me." They just won 2 league titles in a row.
Yeah.
And I said, "Stevie, I have another year at the Welders." He says, "Don't worry about that. I'll speak to the guy." And I said, but why? Well, like, I couldn't comprehend what was going on.
Yeah.
Just the way he dealt with it was so good. And he said, "Listen, we've had number twos. I want to be honest with you," he says, that I couldn't trust, I couldn't put in. And he says, "I see as a number one that can do both those jobs. You got to think about what's next. You got to think about what are you going to coach, how long you're going to play for." He says, "But this is a brilliant place to be." And he says, "You're going to come in. We're playing Europe. We're going to be challenging for everything." He says, "And I want you as part of it." And again, well, that was going back to the how it ended at Glentoran, and you had that wee bit of success at the Welders in between. I was like, right. He said, "Listen, if you can speak to Gary and sort this out, then that's something I'm interested in." And he just took care of it. I helped out a little bit, got Sam Johnson to the Welders.
Yeah.
Sam, he went on that obviously finished there at Ballymena. Really, really good kid. That was his kind of first experience in a first team. He was brilliant for them. So they were in good hands, good shape. And I went back into Crusaders. Sean O'Neill.
Yeah.
You need
Like a
another
whirlwind.
podcast for Sean O'Neill.
He's a whirlwind.
Wow. I actually had done a thing. It just shows you how he works and operates. But I had done a podcast, Keith Bailey and Lord James and Mark McIntosh way before it. And you had to give your predictions of who was going to win the league. And it was the second year that they went on to win it.
Yeah.
And I said, I think Cliftonville will pip them for the league. And so Stevie must have then advised the team that I was coming in, or advised Sean or whatever. And I got a message from this number that I didn't have. And it was a video of all the boys away. And Sean saying, remember when you said we weren't going to win the league? You be fucking ready for what's coming next. And it was him with a drink and whatever else. And what a man. Like, unbelievable goalkeeper. Unbelievable person.
He definitely doesn't get the credit either for being...
He doesn't?
Yeah, he's maybe technically not as good with his feet, but in terms of everything else, he's incredible. He's a captain, he's a leader.
He is. That's the biggest thing for me, was the way he led the dressing room. Coachy was the captain.
Yeah.
But always was every
bit of the captain is,
like he was. And he had big moments, captain material, and that he produced on the pitch, but also behind the scenes as well. But we just obviously hit it off.
Yeah.
We're like a house on fire, as you can well imagine. And Big Mac was there, obviously, as a goalkeeping coach, getting on and starting to think about winding up. And Stevie had said, listen, you're going to play games here. He says, you're going to play in the cup games. He said, I'm going to rotate you for the odd league game. He says, start to think about what's next, blah, blah, blah. But ultimately, let's go and win another league. We won the County Antrim, I'm pretty sure, that first year. And then, obviously, the disaster of losing the league on the last day. Cheers. was it your doing, or was it Ogre's fault?
It was, I think, it was a weird how it kind of materialised. I think we were...
Well, it was weird because he thought he was Johan Cruyff.
He Cruyffed me, actually. So the video would probably be me running, like, full steam, like smoke ears, ready just to try and hurt him. And I tried to hit him on the ball, and he Cruyffed me, and I was like, yeah. And I was like, I kind of like put my 2 feet into the ground. Do you know, to stop yourself?
Yep.
And I remember turning, and he took a heavy touch, and I remember just scissoring just to get it, and the ball just slid out to Bushy. And I remember Bushy just knocked it in from about 35 yards out, and you were just kind of like, I think if you won that, that was it.
That was it, done.
Like you just needed a point, I think.
We'd been so far ahead, and it was like game after game in the split. I don't think we won a game in the split. I can't really remember. It was a wee bit of a blur, but...
These were so far ahead. I think it was like 10 or 11 points, and you were like...
threw it away.
Yeah.
You threw it away. It was shocking, but... Do you know what? It's maybe what the group needed as well. I remember the pre-season, and again, we were back in Europe, obviously, again, and you're away, and Stevie really built it around that, about not getting over the line, not seeing it through, what it took, why we didn't do it, and then we went on to obviously win it the next year. And for me, it was a strange one, because I'd get in and played in quite a few games and done well. I'd lost one game away to Coleraine on penalties, and it was only me, Craig McLean, Cush, and Clark. He played in it. I think that was it. They played all the kids that were coming through, Ryan Nimitz and Michael Kerrs and Salou Jallows and all these boys. Dale McCreary, I can't remember, there's loads more, but Coleraine went full strength, and we took it to penalties, and they beat us in penalties. And I think that was the only game I lost at Crusaders.
Right.
Didn't play in a whole heap, but done really, really well. And Ogres does his shoulder. It's been popping out every now and again, dislocating, getting it put back in, and it got to the stage where, right, he needs to go and have an operation here. So Stevie comes to me and says, Michael, you're going to play, you're going to be the number one, but you need to find a goalkeeper. And I said, Stevie, why do you want me as your number one? He says, well, you get in, you've done really well, and you never let us down at sending you improved contract and stuff. And I said, but why change that? I'm not going to, like, I'm 36 now. Like, am I going to be able to play 40, 50 games here at that level? It's all right when you're going in once every 4 weeks or 5 weeks or whatever it was. So being honest enough, but also knowing where I was and knowing my place. I said, listen, leave it with me. I think I can get you a goalkeeper. And obviously got
Brian
Jensen in.
which is one of the maddest signings ever. Like,
Well, I met Brian at a coaching course, and I'd come in. I was actually a couple of minutes late and walked in. Everyone had their seats. So it was just pure fate that there was one seat and he was sitting in the next one. And I didn't know he was on the course, and there was a few others that didn't know were on it. But as I walked up, he's this wide, right? And I've just had him a big slap in the back of the head. I mean, I could say it's your head. And he's looked at me, and just like that, I was like, that was it. And we still speak every week. Brilliant fella. And when I spoke to him, I said, listen, he just retired. And I said, listen, there's an opportunity here. What do you think? And he'd never played in Europe his whole career. He'd never got into Europe, which is mad. And you think he played in the Premier League and what he achieved. I said, there's a real opportunity for you to go and win something and get into Europe. He said, right, let's do it. So went and had the conversation with Stevie and Jeff. And Steve was just brilliant. But it was one of those Stevie moments. I said, listen, I've got a goalkeeper. So I'm going to still do what I'm doing. It's number 2. You play me when you need me. He says, who is it? I says, Brian Jensen. I said, Brian Jensen? Premier League goalkeeper? And I went, like, off his seat, and I went, yeah. And he went, right. So it was like so weird. I explained the whole thing, and we got him over. He flew in, signed. Just brilliant decision. And he loved it. Absolutely loved it.
I've heard stories that he's
brilliant guy. Mad as well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Kind of. And to be fair, we lost Ogres and we gained him. And Ogres was about and stuff, but he gained that presence on the pitch and that leader and somebody to perform at that level. He was unbelievable. But Stevie to play for me, I know everyone's got different opinions of him. But for me at that period, the Crusaders was incredible. His stories were mental. The way he managed was mental, but it was the right way. And like one of the best ever story you've heard it. Just the way he used to put the teams up, go through, he made you feel like you were better than everyone. And like I remember my first game away. I think we went to TNS in pre-season. It was a Welsh club. Pretty sure it was TNS anyway. We're roasting the pitch beside the airport, and obviously Crusaders long ball team worked, up the chicken and everything else. And we had a bye ball straight away, started the game, and Clarkey shows for it as a 6, and I bounced it in, got it back, and wrapped it out the Kriegers. And literally 3 passes later, we've hit the crossbar, and Stevie's went ballistic. No funny Dan. That's what he shouted at me. No funny Dan. Like one. We've just bump, right? And that was it. So spoke to me out and he was like, no, we don't do that.
Yeah.
He says, set it up, get everyone out, get us into shape, play up the Jordan, Gavin and Heats play off him.
To be fair, it's probably the biggest cheat code, Joy. Like,
oh my God.
Jordan Owens is the best target man, probably one ever.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? Bar Spike
well, if anyone does too, but Jordan Owens, like if you're paying a tenner a head in the game, they're charging him 40. Is the biggest head ever and can head it
Jordan
anywhere.
could pass the ball better with his forehead and he could with his foot. It was unbelievable. I've never seen a
header against. He scored a header in the CIS Cup final we lost at Ballymena. I think it was against Linfield from outside the box. A header into the top corner, which was like a free kick. I'm not telling lies.
But like, I don't want to say this and just take it away from him. Yes, but technically still very good. Still complete goal scorer.
Holding the ball up.
How to play the game. Knew what he was doing. Like
rolling people.
And will never probably get as much credit as he deserves.
No, obviously.
He was incredible and such a nice guy to go with.
Oh, absolute legend and just funny man. Like knew what he was really, really good at it and just loved doing it.
Yeah,
didn't it? But Steve was. I told Brian about the stories and stuff like the way, man, he loved them. Like Jensen absolutely loved them, so he did. Like the foreigner, like he used to come in. So, and you've played her, you know the crack anyway, right? But he used to come in and it was a different theme. You always knew what to say to get you ready for a game. So he would have been something he watched or something he read or something he had researched, but. It would have been David Attenborough, Planet Earth they'd watched, and he just somehow had this story about, I don't know, this whale had done something, and it just somehow got you ready for a game. It shouldn't have made sense, but it did. And I remember the boys telling me he came in, he'd swung a golf club driver around the changing room, and boys are giving it this one. Like, but his thing, he was talking about Tiger Woods and how he pictured a shot and stood back and seen it and sent it up the fairway and was unbelievable. Like when you think about it, and you don't see that when you think about. Well, Stevie just played a long ball. Stevie's just a long ball manager. He was very, very clever and knew how to manage players. But he talked one day about watching a movie with Jackie Chan, The Foreigner, and he says, unbelievable movie. Like, he says, like his daughter gets kidnapped and he has to go on this mission to get her back, and he's trying to get something. It was also about getting the league back, right? And they get something back that's really close to him and dear to him. And he says, and I don't want to spoil it, he says, but Jackie Chan beats the whole IRA by himself. I'm only asking you to beat Dungannon. And it was so funny and so like mad, but it worked.
Yeah,
it worked, and that's just the way he was. And again, for me, just brilliant. And the other side of it, I have to say, and he was brilliant at this too. And the year we won it, and Sean had come back into the fold, and Brian was there, and I'd kind of taken more of a back seat. Ogres obviously goes on the bench, replaces me, and I didn't see myself going anywhere. I see myself again being there and seeing it out. Yeah. But he phones me. Ran, I think it was a Sunday. It was Sunday. He says, "Talk to me about yesterday about the team talk." During the team talk, and the clue what he was talking about. So I'm lost, and he says, "You were yawning." So where I was sitting, sort of close to the door, and he was standing in front of me talking to the players. He says, "You were yawning behind my back when I was talking." I was like, "Right, okay." I was tired. I was yawning, and I don't know what was said by somebody else, but what he got fed was I was yawning behind his back.
To show, say,
he's boring.
Yeah,
right.
Okay.
Which 100% wasn't the case. I said, "Listen, I want you to stay away for a few days." I was like, "Well, you don't really need to worry." No, I want you to stay away. He says, "Right." And he says, "Give me a few days to think about it." He says, "Don't worry about your wages. Don't worry about anything else. It's not going out to anyone. Nobody's going to." He says, "Just between me and you, just let's do this." And I says, "Right." So I was really disappointed. So I missed, obviously, that week of training. And he phones me again. He said, "Listen, because we're getting the business end, this is where it's going here. I don't need you to be around the place." And that was, right, okay. I said, "Listen, I'm going to go come to games and stuff." And he says, "Absolutely." He says, "Come to games and watch the games." He says, you don't need to be training, and you're still going to get your wages." And I was kind of, don't be paying me your wages because I'm not contributing. He said, "This is just the way it's going to be, and we'll speak to you at the end of the season." And I didn't realise at the time, even though it was like towards the end of my career, like I would have probably done the same, because whether I'd done that deliberately or not, in his head, he's not going to let anything derail.
No, it's sending the message to the players.
The title charge.
Yeah.
Like, something's there that might be creeping in that I'm going to go a certain way. Yep. This is not stopping us from getting our league back. So it was a brilliant decision from him. Really hard for me to sit there. It was only the last 3 or 4 weeks. And it was at Ballymena, that game, the last day of the season. Jensen makes a world-class save to pretty much win us the league. So that pays off to bring him in. And to be fair to Stevie, like, I went to the game with Lieber. And Lieber, I was sitting there, we were watching the title celebration. She says, "Go down." And I sort of went, "Nah, I'm not going down to the pitch." And he says, go down with the boys." And I didn't go, I just sat up. And nobody treated me any different. And Tommy Whiteside and Beller and all them boys, really, really good. But Stevie phones me after and said, "Listen, make sure you're there tonight. Back at the club." So it was just literally that period. He was thinking, I'm not going to let anyone or anything derail this, and I'll deal with it after.
Yeah.
And 100%, it was the right thing to do. So, that was it. And the conversation when I did meet him was about me wanting to stay on and do what I was doing, because Jensen was going to move back, and he wanted a slightly different role for me.
As a coaching role, you mean?
Yeah. And again, I felt like I could have done that job for another 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
Like, to be pretty much full time at that age, and doing what you're doing and playing in those games, and performing in those games. And I was coaching at the time already with the IFA, looking after the club NI goalkeepers and being away with international teams and seeing the game from a different perspective, really learning as well, actually helped me as a goalkeeper, I felt. And that my sort of experience as a goalkeeper were helping me as a coach. So it was really balanced for me, a really good time. And he said, listen, Big Max, kind of get to the end. I want you to now kind of step in and be the coach. He was still the goalkeeping coach because they weren't going to take that away from him. But his knees were done, and he's club legend.
Yeah.
Nobody was going to force him out, and nor should they. But he kind of wanted me to come in and just take that role. And I just felt like I had more to give.
Yeah.
And I didn't see any reason why he needed to change it. I think I could have done that by still being a number 2. And I just said I needed to think about it. And then Larne came in, Kenny Bruce Revolution, which I never in a million years seen coming. But got the phone call there to go and meet Tiernan and Seamus and the rest of the crew. And went and met them at Jordanstown, and that's when we met.
That's when we met, yeah. Which became a really good time, actually.
Brilliant.
Well, for a short period of time, obviously, but still a really good period of time.
Brilliant. The championship season was unbelievable. It was like,
Well, I had missed that.
yeah, you hadn't come in at that stage.
I'd agreed to come, and actually, really, I remember.
Much money.
Yeah, no, actually, I got that. Don't be worried about that. I got the money, like. But I actually remember you phoning me. Similar thing that you talked about earlier. I was in Dubai. Lucy got a job teaching.
Yep.
And I had signed and went away, and you'd obviously found out that I had signed. And I tried to fly back because you were going away to Marbella or no.
Oh,
Marbella, end of season
yeah.
trip. And I was like, I'll get on that type thing, and I'll come back for a couple of weeks, and then I'll head back out. And I remember you phoning me when you were out there, pretty much being like, can't wait to have you in,
Yep.
getting going. And all of us, I remember I was out and you were out, and it was just FaceTime back and forward. And then ever since that, I think our relationship just kind of hit the middle.
It was. You're right. That's what it was. And but just a bizarre time. Like, and nobody ever seen that coming, did they? Like Kenny, obviously, nobody really knew of him. He's come in. It's no secret the job that he's done there and what he's put into it. But that first season was incredible. Like being in the championship, Larne nearly being out of business, from having nothing to having
everything.
Still nothing but everything. In terms of money and the way they prepared for games and pre-matches and everything that came with it to get them where they wanted to go was incredible.
And like implementing like new things, so getting rid of the pitch, putting the 3G down, all those small but big changes.
Yep.
Kind of lined them up to kind of just storm over the top of everyone.
Yep. And it was the first game away to Knockbreda. And I remember obviously Tomas had come in. The wheelbarrow that he got for a sign on, he didn't bring that day. He left it in the house.
He had Marty Donnelly in it.
Oh. But that day was brilliant for us as a group, because like we were looking around the change room, looking at the squad, the team had assembled, and you're looking going, this is going to be easy.
Yeah.
And we went to Knockbreda, and the grass hadn't been cut purposely. The pitch it was brought in, it was tighter. And it was just not a good day for us. And I remember honestly in the game, Tomas just looking and going like this. And Knockbreda have a dog, right, that goes and gets the footballs. So when the ball goes over the fence, this, I think it's a golden Labrador retriever, goes and gets the ball and brings it back. So they have a ball dog, right? Honest to God.
You could have done that about me,
Yep. You've done that there.
You'd done with pushing the dog.
Oh my God. So Tomas's face, but I think we drew the game, or actually might have been beat 1-0.
You got beat,
1-0. Just summed it up. But the day that I'd signed, again, going back to goalkeepers and wanting to, that goalkeeping union and building relationships with people, everything that I'd heard about Conor Devlin was bad.
Yeah.
Right. I was at a Crusaders team, Crusaders and Cliftonville, big rivals. We had Conor Devlin's face on her yellow bib for the worst trainer. Right? Honestly, it was mad. There's no love lost between them and I wasn't really part of that, but it was I spoke to them and went and met Gareth
Clements.
Yep. And Gavin obviously then was there, and brilliant guys we know, and we were at Jordanstown and it was all there and the contract was there and I was happy with everything, and I said, listen, is Conor Devlin in the building? he was like, yeah, he's at the gym. We were just finished. And I said, can you get him in? I was, right, okay. I said, listen, I just need to speak to him before I sign. So we can down. Never played against him. And again, probably didn't like him very much. Played against him because it was a rivalry. Didn't know him, anything about him personally. Never probably spoke to him. And I said, listen, the job that I'm coming in to do is a number 2, but it's to get you ready for games. And he was in the greatest shape, obviously, just coming back from being off. And I said, I'm going to give you absolutely everything I have, but you've got to give me the same back. There'd be no backstabbing, there'd be no going behind your back, there'd be no getting in ahead of you and doing things the wrong way, but you've got to give me a back. And it was almost like that's everything he wanted to hear and needed. And that's what I needed. I couldn't have worked with a goalkeeper at that stage. He was going to sack it off. Yeah. And it was just there for a few quid and wasn't going to look after himself. And again, shook hands, he gave me a big hug that he gives you. And that was it, signed and done. And we were just like that from minute one. And honestly, you're so close to him as well. But like I would say, like, hand on heart, one of the nicest men you'll ever come across, would do anything for you. Unbelievable goalkeeper, the best that I've ever worked with. Easily, stand out, and could do it like without even an effort. Yeah. And just a brilliant man. Like, and that period made it more enjoyable for me, I think, doing it with him. Yeah. Doing it together with him and coming through and was just unbelievable. So yeah, brilliant decision. And again, you're leaving Crusaders the last time and you drop down, and it just seemed to be that sort of thing of going down to get back up, and it was a constant. But I knew obviously we'd get up, and the way we'd done it was incredible. And obviously, you know, everything that comes with it, and you get well looked after, and some people better than others, I must say.
But when you look at the hindsight of how it went, so Tiernan and Seamus take that job at one stage, they've got nothing, and then they say about getting Kenny in. If they didn't have Kenny, I think at one stage they had a couple of French lads that came over. I think that you might have been there at that stage, I don't know. Yeah, they were, no, just slightly before me. That part of it I signed at the start of a new season, but a lot of them boys were at the Met. Yeah. And I was there as a coach along with, I'd went in to take the goalkeepers. So you'd kind of seen those young lads coming through, and they weren't at the level. I know, but that's all. That's the only players they could get. But if you're looking at it from the outside perspective on how they've went in with their mentality, say, and that's one thing I will give them credit for, is they wanted to start a full-time team. So they used the Met to create that full-time buzz with the kids at that level or at that age, and then tried to implement them into Larne so that they had like near enough a full-time kids team. And then obviously push comes to shove, Kenny joins the fold, and you actually end up getting near enough a full-time team. So it showed that they kind of manifested themselves in the situation that they ended up getting, and rightly so, they relished on it. They've done really well. Yeah, it took time, obviously, and those players at the start, again, before I came in, weren't at the level, but the thought process was there, the vision was there, as they always talked about, and it was just putting that into place. And obviously, fortunate they had those jobs at the Met, and they could use the facilities, and Larne were training there. You were doing everything there. You were doing the presser, and I was doing flipping whatever it was, and it was held there because that was on Met time probably. Yeah. But I remember some of the early training sessions, like we didn't even have enough to fill 11. Yeah. But obviously very, very quickly they got it together, and Big Shane came in, and Davey, Ben Tilney, it's like serious signings. So Tomas, so technically Marty, ridiculous, yeah. Marty and Tomas, like, my God, where do you start with them two? Two absolute tubes, right? But brilliant. The funniest people. They don't know they're funny, and they are. No. But they had the best working collaboration at the Irish League I think's probably ever seen in terms of a right winger and a right back. And then that relationship on the pitch was like, they were like that. And it was like, honestly, it was like Henry and Bergkamp. Just knew if one went one way, he was going the other, and it was never coached. It was just. But as soon as the whistle went, they absolutely hammer each other until the next game. Yeah. So good. And again, it was. Do you know what? It was a wee bit like the Welders, what I talked about there, building that sort of culture and that togetherness, and boys went out together, and Tiernan wasn't a big fan of it all the time. That
because he was trying to be more professional, but
Yeah.
it was probably the making of that team as well, the time they spent together. And then doing that sort of hybrid full time, you know, a couple of mornings, a couple of evenings, helped keep certain players as well.
So from that there full-time hybrid thing, we obviously then established ourselves in the Premiership. That became the madness that unfolded over 2 years, which was probably one of the craziest times in terms of, it kind of felt like it was the first time I'd been in a change room that was very old school. So when you listen to like Under the Cosh and you hear about people stitching each other up or driving each other's cars away or cutting up each other's clothes or getting in the shower with people's clothes on, it got out of hand very quick.
But you know what? It was worth it. I think the group still had that from the year before and still needed to have a wee bit of that. And the fight was, Kieran and Kenny and everyone wanted it to be ultra professional.
It didn't go that way at all.
No, it didn't at times. And some people probably let themselves down off the pitch of certain things. But I felt internally it never affected us. No matter what happened.
It was hilarious.
Like again, just like Connor coming and saying to me like the night before saying, by the way, I'm going to book a helicopter for me and you to go to training then. Right? And, you know, he
did actually.
And you're getting there and you're going like coming in an ice cream van one day. It's just so many things that your people are going, what? Like, but again, the group loved it. It was so funny. Always seemed to be certain people, probably led by me or him. Remember the day I came in dressed as a Grinch, the Santa outfit on, went in, wrecked the club shop, came in when it's right, and he's coming in videoing me. I remember Ramsey coming in one day just dressed as Beetlejuice, just with the white face on and the hair just sitting in the corner. But top players as well. Like I knew when to draw the line and go right. We need to get out of here. But some of the trips we went on, obviously, were brilliant. Like Poland was a joke. Like we had done Andorra the year before, which was the toughest thing I've ever done. Right, honestly, pre-season training. I remember playing the wee small-sided games. Right, the heat was ridiculous. Obviously, high altitude, and the rule was, if you lost the game, whoever team lost the game, ran, done the doggies for whatever it was. And then bang, new game. And I think for 4 games in a row, they were nil each. So both teams ran, right? So boys were gone. And we'd done a couple of nights. And Tiernan had said to me, listen, the staff are going to go down for a couple of glasses of wine. No, why? He asked me, I don't know. Keep an eye on the boys, right? And I said, well, we're actually going to go down to the town. Is that all right? He says, no mess, no drink. I says, no, we're just going to go down and have a look around. It's all right, 100%. So we found this bar, obviously, right? And we were in the bar, and class B place, just really good vibe about it. All the boys are enjoying themselves. Brilliant laugh. And then we were waiting to leave, but there's no taxis in Andorra. It's a weird place. You have to get this place to book you the taxis, and it's bizarre, right? You can't phone a taxi. There's no apps for it. Can't even switch your phone on. It's like costs you 80p a minute. So we're standing there. So this girl had ordered his load of taxis, and this massive big chocolate cake, the big clear perspex thing over it. It was like the one out of Matilda, right? And Connor says, get a bit of that cake for our room. So I said to the girl, can we take away? I think she says, no, closed. Tomorrow. And I said, come on. You was obviously all had a few drinks. No. And he just lifted it up. Neither of us said anything. He just lifted it up, and I just went, whop, right? Face right in, chocolate in my eyes, up my nose, all around my face, right? In my teeth, right? This girl went berserk, right? Screaming the place down, wanting to phone the police, cancelled their taxis, right? So we have all thing, paid for the cake, paid for the full cake, didn't take it, and got out of there, and went to another place, got taxis. And I remember it's me, Davy McDade and Shane in a taxi. And we were going up, you have to go around the thing. And we got up, so Davy goes, see if we'll go to McDonald's. I says, right. So I'm saying to the boy, you go to yeah, McDonald's, yep. So we go to McDonald's, go to a drive-through. So I got a Happy Meal, cheeseburger Happy Meal. I think Davy got 2 double Big Mac things, right, and whatever else. Right. Shane was healthy. He got the carrot sticks and whatever, right? So, but Davy had a load of McDonald's. And we get into the lift, and we were on the 3rd floor, and we got the 2nd floor, and it went ding, and the doors open, and Davey shit himself and went and through the McDonald's. He thought Tiernan was going on the lift, and the things just exploded everywhere, chips and burgers everywhere. There was nobody there. He was absolutely gutted. He was shoveling chips and thinking, still had them too.
I'm sure I would have done that too.
But brilliant. And then there was just some really good laughs. Like, I cut Davey's hair.
Yes, heard.
I convinced him that I'd done a hairdressing course while I was at Belfast Met, that I went on this while I was working there. So I had the clippers, obviously, to shave the beard and stuff like that there. So I was go and get them. So I gave him a giraffe neck fade, so it was up to about there. And I've got a video of my phone. You can hear Shane's big laugh, absolutely killing himself and a thing. But those nights, just sitting in the room, bringing the new boys in, like, and not really any mad initiations or anything, but bringing them in, quizzing them. Like, Conor would have brought them in, quizzed them on loads of stupid stuff, and just kind of brought us closer together. But a brilliant time. And then obviously we went to Poland, and it was chaos.
It was extreme, actually. It got way out of hand at one stage, but it was amazing.
Well, with the wee bowling alley and the bar across the way that we went down to, one of the days we were out a beer, but like Kirker's won 2 beers. I think at one stage I had about 10 desperados in me. I was sitting out sunburnt.
You were lobster.
Absolutely lobster red. Marty's walking about. You could only see him when he was that way. We couldn't see him when he was that way. He moved top on. But Tomas, so I was Tomas he was starting to get professional at this stage, because his signing on fee had ran out. So he's thinking, how can I get another contract and more money? So Tomas had his own pro team and stuff with him, and obviously their room was across from mine. We spent loads of time in the same room together, just laughing. But I was going in and fart every time I needed a fart. I had their key card. I was going in and unscrewing Tomas's thing and farting in it and screwing it back up. The second time I'd done it, I didn't tell him. The second time I done it, Marty was in the room, so he thought it was Tomas coming in, and I walked in, he looked at me, and I just unscrewed it and farted it and screwed it back in. He just went,
fair enough. Yeah.
Yep, and walked back out. So I'd done this for 3 or 4 days, and wrote a wee picture, a wee note, and I wrote, Doc's farts, Tomas's protein. And he picked it up when he went in, he went, what's this? And then Marty busted in the stitches, he told him the story. So he came in, soaked my bed, drenched it. I didn't say a word, so I'll get you back. And then went back into his room, he had the protein hidden. Marty told me where it was. So I pibbled the protein under his pillow, under his sheet, and he woke up infested with ants in his room. I put his iPad in the freezer as well in that once. But just class, like, just stupid things, but there was no animosity within. No matter what you done.
It was all very healthy. Like
I think I got all my clothes cut up one day and just put them on, like trousers were cut to there and t-shirt across. I remember Fuds coming in with the 2 beds pushed together. We were all watching a film. Might have been Happy Gilmore or something stupid, wasn't it?
We were all in the one room.
We were all in the one room.
13 or 14 of us, all stuck to 2 beds.
Fuds then lay on the split like that there, and I just seen it, and I was like, and got up, and just went, pulled the bed, and he just like, and it was on, like, he got up and stormed out in a huff. But just wee moments like that were good, weren't they?
The good thing I liked about that trip was all that materialised, because it built us all for that first year, and then it ended with that day just having a few beers. I know we said you can't really put a limit on people and tell them to stop drinking at a certain time, because it never happened, because we had bought a carry for 3 days and we just stored it in the room. So we weren't trying to hide it, because we were sitting, the rooms opened up onto the grass, and then everyone just walked out of the room onto the grass. So sitting there with a tunes on, and I think at one stage you were pretending to play the drums. I think we were playing like the size or something, and all the boys were saying that, and you're running around pretending you're marching, and
I think I walked.
Nobody gives one care.
The diamond room. Was it over the 12th of July we were there? Pretty sure it must have been.
I think so.
It must have been for me to do that. But I've walked in, it's absolutely steaming.
You were walking into people's doors and rooms and all that, and
with a big 10 or something, playing the bass drum around the room and absolutely steaming, walked back in, got into bed and fell asleep again. And everyone that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
A good group. And for me then to take that coaching role, it was, I loved the way it ended, because I had another year as a player, and spoke to Tiernan a couple of weeks before the end of the season and kind of said, listen, that's going to be me. And he was like, what? And I said, I'd rather do it on my own terms. You know, rather than get that stage where you're thinking you should have wrapped it up and you should have hung them up or whatever, and making mistakes that were ultimately going to cost something. And the plan was to always go into the first team goalkeeping coaching role anyway, because that's what I was working towards. So to do it then, and to be fair, the way he done it was brilliant. Away to Vilamoura, not the most glamorous place, last game of the season. Brilliant pitch, brilliant place to go. I had really good memories because Gary Boness was my international roommate when the junior internationals.
Okay.
And Gary took his own life. I actually saved the penalty when we won the cup for the Welders when I was there as a kid from Gary, and then we went on to be roommates for the international team. And later on, he took his own life, and we went to his funeral and stayed in touch with his family and stuff. And when I was back at Crusaders, we beat the Glens on penalties at the Oval, and I dedicated that to him. Big Davy Jeffrey's done a big article about it and all, and that he's the first person to come in, because I think that was the first penalty shootout that I'd been in since then.
Yeah.
And again, saved one to win it, and he just automatically came into my thoughts, and he was an absolute legend of a man, and ultimately he was struggling with too many things. But I wanted at the end in my own way, and it was quite good. It was a Ballinamallard, and Tiernan just kept it on the wraps, didn't tell anyone. Named the team, named me captain again, as I'd done any time I played. Connor was captain, and I was, and obviously Jeff was there too. But brilliant way to finish. The fans came down, they were all fancy dress. It was a real party atmosphere, and it was brilliant for me. And to sum it up, Bill Gullier, God bless him, who's no longer here. The team must have obviously got word we got back, and he texted me. We were sitting at pre-match. He goes, "Why didn't you tell me this was your last game for the club as a player?" And I texted him saying, "It's not a big thing, Bill. It's just something I wanted to do." And he says, "I know, but I'm not going to be there. I wasn't coming to the game." And I says, "Don't worry about it. There'll be photos from somebody, I'm sure." And the minute he sent that text, he got in his car and drove to Vilamoura. As we were walking out, Bill Gullier was there taking the pictures, and there was no other photographer there taking pictures. So the pictures that I have from that day are the ones that he took, and brilliant memories. I've got my jersey framed with my medal. I've got obviously him, the pictures that he took, the crowd in the back, fancy dress and everything else. So it was a brilliant way at the end for me, and then taking that goalkeeping coaching role on was the start of something different.
Well, ultimately it's led you into where you are now, and that's first team coach at Derry City.
Yep.
How are you relishing the opportunity of being at probably one of the biggest clubs, or potentially going to be one of the biggest clubs in Ireland, and also you're able to compete now? The budget's there, the money's there, the influx of everything that's going on down there, the stadium's done.
Yeah.
Surely there's going to be a trophy or silverware somewhere down the line very soon.
I hope so. It came about in a strange way. I got a call from an agent saying there's somebody who wants to speak to you, but not telling you who it is. Are you interested?
Right.
Right, okay.
Okay.
He said, "No, trust me, it's a big club and they want to speak to you. Just wiring you off that you might get a call, but I don't want to tell you who it is, and there's somebody already in a job and all this stuff." And so I got a call a couple of days later from Murray Higgins, and I had a chat to him, and he wanted to meet me, and I met him and Alan Reynolds, and I was blown away by those two, first of all. And they wanted me to come in straight away. They had about 6 weeks to go. And they were in the FAI Cup final and stuff like that, and I just didn't think it was the right thing to do. The goalkeeping coach there, I didn't know him, never met him, but in my eyes, I wasn't going to change anything. I wasn't going to come into the club in the last 6 weeks and be magic. And I just, my morals just didn't allow me to do that. So I spoke to him, I agreed it, but it would be, sorry, I didn't. I spoke to him and said that I would wait the end of the season. But in my head, I wanted to go there, and they knew that as well. And
yes,
we got to the end of the season, and we met again and spoke, and agreed to come in. And working with Brian Maher for one was a big pull for me. A brilliant goalkeeper, brilliant lad as well. Again, that relationship, went and met him in Dublin, spent a couple of hours with him, learned about him and his family and what he wanted to achieve. And again, given probably similar to the talk I had with Connor, about what I wanted to do and how I was going to do it. And I wanted him to win goalkeeper of the year no matter what, and he achieved it. I wanted us to be successful as a team, and we just fell short. But getting into Europe and the European run we had, it was building, so you could see something building there, and Rory was a big part of that. Ultimately, he had a a traumatic experience, losing his brother. It affected him severely. And we tried our best as a group of staff to manage that along with him, and it just proved probably one step too far. We didn't get over the line. We could have won the double with 4 games to go, and we came out of it with nothing. So the 2 years, no silverware, but promising signs, and obviously then it all changed. We were stepping aside, and Tiernan, Seamus and me reunited with the old staff, the last club that I left. It was Ballyclare for a brief stint doing my badges, but probably going from Larne to Derry, that was the two there.
Yeah.
So yep, really good place at the minute. Obviously it's like anything, new manager, new players, new systems, new everything, new training ground, all of this. So it's taking time, but it's actually looking pretty good at the minute. The way we're playing in certain stages. Some of the results we're getting on a really good run there. Ultimately lost on Friday, but hopefully it's just a wee blip.
Well, listen, I have been tuning in. I've been watching all the games, mate. More so for the likes of yourselves and a couple of the players that'll be good mates with, instead of certain other people that's probably down there. But I just want to say thank you for coming on. All right, I really enjoyed this conversation. I like how open and honest you've been throughout your career, and I think everybody else will really enjoy it. It's been funny. It's been new.
No, it's been good. No, I've loved it. Listen, again, long time coming. We probably speak flipping more, than we've ever spoke, and it's good to have another relationship like that off the pitch as well, and some that you'll carry on. But no, good. I'm delighted for you. This is going the way it's going. Some brilliant podcasts so far, and hopefully this will be one of them. People will enjoy the story, and we'll leave it there.
We'll leave it at the laughs. Right, come on, give me a hug.
Brilliant. Oh, no tears on this one, which is a good thing.
And that's it for another fantastic episode on the On The Spot Football Podcast with me, Johnny McMurray, and my fabulous guest, Michael. Join us next week for yet another fantastic guest. You'll just have to wait and see who this one is, but there'll be a few teasers throughout the week. See you soon.